to the Grant Show. Today we're covering which foods cause obesity. Now, in this episode of the Dr. Grant Show, we are going to be uncovering the top 3 foods that are causing obesity in North America and how you can avoid them. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Grant Show. Today, I'm going to be talking about obesity and more specifically, which foods are causing it. A lot of people think that they know what these foods are, but trust me, you will be surprised by what makes this list. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll be covering the following 3 topics today. First, the problem with obesity. Second, which foods cause obesity? And third, the solution to the problem of obesity. Let's go. So there is a common misconception that if you just hypnotize yourself not to eat your favorite binge foods, then all these problems will just disappear. But many health professionals are aware that it's actually a wee bit more complicated than this. In order for someone who wants assistance with stopping obesity from eating certain food groups such as cookies or ice cream, we must really understand the psychology behind wanting those things in the first place. And let me tell you, there isn't one single answer because everyone has different reasons for the food that they crave. And that being said, I do have some tips on how you might find success by following these rules of food engagement. So let's talk about number 1, the problem with obesity. My mother is a perfect example of the problem with obesity. She was a genius, like literally a genius. She looked up items from Men's Society. She looked up the best diets. She looked up the best ways to implement more willpower. She looked up the best amount of calories to burn for your metabolic type. You know what? She lost the weight, but the victory was hollow. This is because she never got to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is we need to take an integrative approach to obesity. We need to take a multifaceted and recognize that obesity takes a multifaceted and multi-pronged approach in order to really find a solution. Now, there are certain strongholds, certain commonalities, a certain thread that everyone that is looking to free themselves of obesity often has. Don't get me wrong, but it is about more than just calories in and calories out or your BMI. No, 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 no. You see, what people are truly missing when you get into the core of obesity and its sidekicks like emotional eating, food addiction, food binges, food cravings. What we're missing here are the mental tools, the guard at the gate. That's what must come first. And out of all the programs that my mother went through in order to lose weight, and she did succeed in losing weight. She succeeded in losing over 40 pounds at one point. Only problem is it brought back its friends times 3, maybe even a little bit more. So we didn't truly lick the problem. We just made it fall asleep for a moment. We never got to the root of it. This is why it's so important to address the psychological component first, the mindset component first, the subconscious beliefs that are really piloting your entire journey first. When you take this approach, you're able to more easily identify and see what the root problem actually is. This is about more than the number on the scale. In my digital health practice, I speak with a lot of doctors, MDs, DOs, DCs, PhDs, and I have seen scores of research on various dietary approaches, different drugs, which foods to eat, vegetarian versus non-vegetarian, keto versus keto, Atkins, whatever. Whatever it is that you want to whip out of your binder of magical solutions, teas, corsets, you name it, running, exercise, fasting, intermittent fasting, cabbage soup, lemonade, watermelon, fruit only, baby food, hands only, portion control, willpower fixes. None of those work, not by themselves. Even the mindset component by itself won't work. What am I talking about when I say mindset and psychology? I'm delving into with you energy psychology, such as EFT tapping, hypnotherapy, things of this nature. We can dive into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. All of these things are the tip of the iceberg in helping you identify why and what and how to address obesity. How do you avoid eating those foods? Even spirituality. We can pray. We can pray not to eat those foods. I have been in prayer groups praying about not eating the food that's so tempting to binge on. But once we get over the prayer part, what tools do you have when life's crashing waves rise up and feel like they are surrounding you? What tools do you have to see you through? What life raft can be extended to you when it's 12 o'clock in the morning? The whole house is asleep and you are staring at that refrigerator, debating if you should close the door and walk away from the ice cream, or even worse yet, should you get in the car and find a convenience store that's open 24 hours and grab another tub of ice cream? These are the clients that I have worked with that have struggled with food addiction, emotional eating, and food binges. And in those instances, this is never, ever, ever a situation about implementing more willpower. That's not the solution. It's about addressing the psychology. And then once we identify the foods, then we've got something to work with. And then we identify the workouts. Then we have something we can work with. Okay, I know you think that I'm trying to get off course with you. I know this, but I swear to you that that's not my intention. My intention here is to give you real, live circumstances and a wee bit of background to help you understand what you're really up against. It's not as simple and clean cut as popping a pill. It's not as simple and clean cut as drinking a tea or intermittent fasting or the latest trend. It's about more. It's an integrative approach, and it takes someone guiding you through that. All right. So I know you tuned in to find out which foods cause obesity. So let me go ahead and just deep dive into my next point, which is which foods cause obesity. Now, you don't have to give up your favorite foods to lose weight. In fact, you can eat all of your favorite foods and still lose weight. So what is the answer to the question, which foods cause obesity? According to numerous scientific studies, I want to reference a couple of them for you just to give you a little bit of background, okay? Because so many people are offering up opinion over here, opinion over there. Let me share with you my life story here, my life story there. And no one's just flat out talking to you about some of the science. Stories are good. Personal stories are good, but no one's talking to you about the actual scientific studies that are backing up some points. And the beautiful thing The beautiful thing about me having a doctorate degree is I have access to special scientific research that the general population simply doesn't have. So let me give you the benefit of some of my access. Okay. I want to give you three academic articles. These are recent academic articles that I'm elated to share with you. Okay. First academic article. It's titled The Bitter Side of High Fructose Corn Syrup, the Global Obesity Pandemic. This is from the Education, Health, and Sport, which was published in September of 2020. Another journal called The Comparison of High Fructose Corn Syrup versus Sucrose Consumption on Non-Alcoholic Fatty Liver Disease in Juvenile Pigs, published in the Oxford Academic. And our third article I'll be covering with you today is Sex-Based Differences in Phagocyte Metabolic Profile in Rats with Monosodium Glutamate-Induced Obesity, featured in Nature Journal. They all, in summary, talk about food additives such as high fructose corn syrup and MSG. They've been shown to increase appetite, increase weight gain, and tamper with key hormones called leptin and ghrelin that alert the body that it's full. So back to our main question. Which foods cause obesity? I know you guys are like, we're on pins and needles here, seriously. The answer is foods that contain high fructose corn syrup and MSG, essentially processed foods. As long as these processed foods have high fructose corn syrup or MSG, they're contributing to obesity. Now, very often, people will ask me, well, does that mean all of my favorite items are out? No, not a long shot. You can still have your ice cream, you can still have your cookies, you can still have your cake. What I did for my doctorate degree, I conducted a study, the first of its kind, working with women that wanted to lose weight, that struggled with food addiction and obesity. And in that 4-week period, what I did was give them a specific list of foods that were their favorites, such as cakes, cookies, ice cream, that didn't have high fructose corn syrup or MSG. So, of course, let's use common sense. Moderation is key. This doesn't mean that you can go crazy and eat an entire box of cookies. If you're a person that struggles with food addiction or you're vulnerable to the effects of certain items, then maybe exploring the route of no sugar or low sugar is definitely a good option. We could talk about that. But for the rest of the population that's struggling with obesity and you're looking for your lighthouse in the storm because you've tried so many things and it simply didn't work, here's your answer. Your processed foods. The first choice, food number one, is to try to avoid it and just simply make a healthier counterpart that you can find either in your grocery store or something that you can cook at home. The second item you want to look out for in terms of foods that contain high fructose corn syrup and MSG are your sauces. So ketchup, for example, barbecue sauce, for example, it is immensely easy, so easy to accidentally have a chemical saboteur in your midst by adding these very simple toppings like ketchup, maybe even salad dressing to your item, and you're thinking that you're eating healthy. So double check the first choice, food item number one. Work hard to eliminate processed foods from your diet. If you must eat processed foods, then make sure these processed foods do not contain high fructose corn syrup or MSG. Item number two, sauces and salad dressings. If you want to eat them, once again, make sure that they are devoid of high fructose corn syrup and MSG. The third food item, and you're going to be mildly surprised by this, is to avoid honey that is not organic. There have been certain scientific journals that have talked about this, but it's best to ensure that your honey is 100% organic. And that way, you know precisely what it is that you're getting instead of just simply loading up on sugar. If you want to avoid sugar entirely or sources of sugar entirely, the next best option for you would be to pick something like a monk fruit extract or stevia. And you need to find the stevia that works for you, because I remember back in the day when I first tried stevia, the powdered form and the drops. This was about 20 years ago, and it didn't taste so good. But now I'm really pleased to say that stevia has come a long way in the way that it has been formulated. So watch out for white sugar, of course. But I know lots of people that say, I still need a sweetener of some shape, form, and fashion. And I totally get you there. Now, artificial sweeteners have been shown in scientific studies, even recent scientific studies, to have kind of a boomerang effect, meaning you sweeten your items with that artificial sweetener, and it turns out you wind up craving just real sugar even more. So this is why I'm directing you to specifically something like monk fruit extract or stevia. Personally, I am a huge fan of monk fruit extract. It contains zero sugar, yet you can use it like you normally would sugar. You can add it to your tea. You can add it to your coffee for those of you that drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. You can even cook with it, which I'm still experimenting with. So I'll be more than happy to share great recipes with you as soon as I discover how wonderful it is. Right now, I've just been adding it to my tea because I'm a tea drinker, avid tea drinker, and it has been glorious, absolutely glorious. So, sweeteners specifically, you want to avoid white sugar to the best of your ability, and instead, here are three alternatives to it. Alternative number one is stevia. Alternative number two, monk fruit extract. And the third alternative, which I didn't mention, is coconut sugar. Coconut sugar is also very nice because it also happens to have trace vitamins and trace minerals. So you're getting like an extra 2 for 1 there. Okay. All right. So those take these. I'm giving you something because I want to make sure that you have something easy to implement. And it's so challenging sometimes to get healthier. And my goal with the Dr. Grant Show is to make your life easier to embrace getting and being healthier. Okay. So, all right. So once again, when you take these approaches, these foods shut down the opportunity for your body to move in the direction of being obese. I know it sounds too good to be true. You could still have flavor, but it's not. You can. With this information I'm giving you, you can finally enjoy the foods you love without feeling guilty. And taking these approaches I'm giving you, you'll see results in no time at all. And isn't that what we want? Don't we want to be able to still enjoy life and enjoy flavorful, good tasting foods without feeling like our health has to equal just bland foods for the rest of our lives? I know I feel the same way. All right, let me give you my last point. The solution to the problem of obesity. I'm going to give you 5 steps. Step number 1, avoid foods that contain high fructose corn syrup. Step number 2, avoid foods that contain MSG. Step number 3, identify how eating healthier improves your life. Step number 4, identify situational and environmental triggers. And the 5th item is find a form of exercise that you feel, or joyful movement that you feel you can do consistently for just 45 days. Just 45 days. Here's the reason why. Anyone could do something for a week. Anyone could do something for 2 weeks. But find just 3 forms of exercise or movement. It can be yoga, for example. It can be walking. It can be jogging. It can be aerobics. It can be just going out in your forest. It can be gardening. It can be something different, something odd, kettlebell swings. It can be volleyball since it's nice weather some days. It can be baseball. It can be playing football. It could even be something really different like badminton. I went to my local supermarket and I happened to find a badminton set and I started playing badminton with the kids at our local tennis court. My point is get creative. Now, I'm recommending 3 forms of movement that you enjoy for 45 days because your body and your brain's going to get tired. It's eventually going to say, you know what, this was a lovely idea, but I'm bored with walking every single day. And then that's when your mind begins to make excuses for you that you really, I think you look good enough, or we tried that for about, 3 days. Let's try something else. But if you have 3 listed as a backup, you see, if you decide one day that you just simply don't feel like walking, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Then you can go to your backup form of exercise, the second form of exercise. So maybe not walking, or maybe not walking on the treadmill. Maybe you walk outside. Maybe you jog outside. I am a huge fan of inline skating, also known as rollerblading. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of doing that, especially outside. It's a great way to get some fresh air, vitamin D exposure with the sun, and it boosts and lifts your mood, which in turn reduces the urge to binge and food binge. So I have just given you the keys to the city. I have given you not only which foods cause obesity, I've also given you ways to stop eating those foods and giving you alternatives to those foods that cause obesity. Now, remember, identifying which foods cause obesity is only one part of the equation, just one. Without mindset, without psychology, without getting the tools and having them at your disposal to be able to utilize at any time of day or night, you're going to hit rough patches that you don't know what to do with or how to handle it. And I don't want that for you. That's for us. This is one of the reasons why I created my digital wellness practice, because I lost my mother to food addiction, emotional eating, and obesity. And I realized that she had tried the willpower route. She had tried the calorie counting route. She had tried the intermittent fasting route. She had tried various diets. She had tried corsets. She tried teas. She tried anything and everything. And although the weight left her, it still came back. And that's why I created my scientific study that helped online in just 4 weeks people that struggled with food addiction actually not only overcome food addiction, such as those food cravings and emotional eating, it also helped them with the other items too, such as anxiety over your food choices. And even though this wasn't the goal of the study, they lost weight, which was definitely a very welcome side effect of that. So it can be done. Now, I give people longer than 4 weeks in our digital wellness practice because I want to make sure that you've really, really, really got a chance to not only be given the tools, but a chance to, it's kind of like riding a bike. You learn how to ride the bike, you maybe read about it, you watch a video or two, you hop on the bike and you get it a little bit and then you step off and you go attempt it the next day and then it feels a little foreign again. It feels like you're starting from square one again. And you're looking around wondering where your backup and your support is. So this is the reason why we give you much longer than just 4 weeks. We give you either 12 weeks, 6 months, or 1 year. This gives you a chance to identify the psychological aspects that might be holding you back, both the areas that you are aware of and the areas that you are blind to. Conquer those, wipe the slate clean, implement what you've been taught, learn from it, then pivot on anything that wasn't working for you, because things come up. And while you're learning all this, life is still moving around you quite rapidly, might I add. And you're going to need the tools that you need to handle things that come up in your career, things that come up in your relationships, things that come up in your spirituality, just life, even your regular average traffic jam. All of these things are coming at you while you're trying to learn all these tools. And any one of these things can tilt the balance and make you wobble. So we don't want to just leave you high and dry. Once you stabilize your mindset, you see, a beautiful thing happens. You are no longer exerting so much energy to keeping all these trap doors shut in your life that were originally draining your energy. This causes an explosion where now this energy that you had taken to juggle all these things and these beliefs and all these ideas, now, because you've conquered these, now you have the strength and the energy to find the best foods for you and stick to it. Now you have the energy to identify 3 workouts, 3 forms of movement that you feel good about implementing for the next 45 days and sticking to it. See, this is all about sustainability. This is the reason why New Year's resolutions usually don't work, because we haven't taken the time to get into the psychology of what is it that you really want and why. Not surface level, not looking good naked or fitting into a certain dress size. We're talking about, what does your new goal really do for you? What does an improvement in your health do for you? How does it change the way you conduct yourself at work? How does this change how you even lift up your leg to get into your vehicle? How does this change your interactions with people? How does this change if you have young nieces and nephews? How does this change your interaction with them? This changes everything when you look at it from this and begin to connect the dots. You now have something real to work with, as opposed to something vain, something that is not sustainable by just looking at a number on the scale. Because you know what happens? You know what happens when it's only the number on the scale that you're looking to move? The moment it moves down, sideways, or up, even by a smidge, your willpower and resolve goes out the window with it. The scale moves up, your willpower and your resolve and your encouragement and willpower go down. That's not what I want for you. That's not what we're about here. What we're about is keeping obesity as far away from you and moving it as far away from you as possible for a very, very long time. And you can't accomplish that without an integrative, multifaceted approach with custom, tailor-made solutions for what you're dealing with at this moment, at this time of your life. All right, guys. The Dr. Grant Show is on Wednesdays and on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. If what I said to you makes sense, You've tried everything else and it worked or not. And you want something that's scientifically proven to work, or you just want to have a conversation with someone, then my information is listed right below. You can send me a private message on any of our social media handles, or you can send a private message and a text to our office phone of 312-601-8510, or you can reach out to us on edibleaddiction.com. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the Dr. Grant Show. We are wrapping up season 5. Much love to you. Bye.